Hi, everybody. Bill Russell here. I'm the Associate Dean International at the School of Business at the University of Dundee. Today, we're going to be talking to John Blicharski, and he's going to talk to us about the non-traditional routes into Dundee. But maybe, John, you could just start off by saying what your role is at the University of Dundee.
Thank you very much, Bill. Thanks for the opportunity. So I am the Access and Participation Manager at the university. I've held that role since 1995. And my job is essentially to make sure that everybody who applies to university gets as fair a chance to qualify and prepare to get in as possible, because our mission is to make sure that students come to Dundee, but also that they have a great experience once they're here.
Okay. And when we talk about non-traditional routes, what do we mean by that?
So I think a lot of people might assume that everybody has the same equal fair chance at school, but we know, of course, that that's not true, that depending on where you live, depending on where you went to school, depending on your circumstances, things can be very different. And particularly now with pandemic, of course, things are different again. So what we're interested in terms of non-traditional routes is to help students to qualify and prepare for Dundee. And we do a thing called contextual admissions, which allows us to look at each individual applicant and basically guide them with a bespoke program of pre-entry support if they're eligible for that.
Okay, and this sort of comes under a broad heading of widening access, is that right?
Yes, because at the moment, if you look at the demographics, for example, for Scotland, you're maybe 5 or even 10 times more likely to go to university if you live in one street as opposed to another in a different part of Scotland. So we're trying to level the playing field and give everybody a fair chance.
Okay, and there's a number of different ways we support students who come through these non-traditional routes. Can you just outline a few of them?
Sure. So essentially, when somebody applies to Dundee, we automatically will assess their circumstances based on the information that they've given us. And the first key message I would give today is if somebody is applying to Dundee or has applied, it's really important they tell us if they've had any difficult circumstances, whether they're at school or at home or elsewhere. Once we've identified those circumstances, we will then potentially make them an offer to come and join our Access summer schools. And we actually have courses running throughout June and July every year. We've done that since 1993. And those courses are there to prepare and qualify students for university. So if, for example, you hold an unconditional offer, you may be thinking, well, I'm qualified for Dundee, that's great. But what you may not have done is you may not have studied in a university before. You may not have used our learning technologies, our assessment techniques. So still, even if you have an unconditional offer and you are eligible, we'll offer you the chance to come and prepare with us over the summer schools. If, on the other hand, your grades are not quite there yet and you're still waiting to get your entry qualifications, summer school, as well as preparing you, can also qualify you. So it gives you a second route that, independent of how you do at school or college, can make sure that you still get your place in the autumn in Dundee. So that's it in a nutshell. And as I said earlier, we actually give you a number of modules. You will study between 1 and 4 modules on summer school, depending on what your need is.
Okay. So when you say they need to tell us at the university, how does that go about? Is that in the personal statement or is that in the form itself?
So when somebody applies to the university, we automatically look at the postcode they've applied from, but we do then rely on them disclosing pretty much the rest of the information. So if, for example, they've been a looked after person, if they've been in care, we want them to tell us that. They can tick the UCAS box, so they can put it in the personal statement. We prefer both. If, for example, they're a carer themselves, we would like to know about that. Again, they can put that in their personal statement. If they are estranged from their parents, again, they can tell us that. And if they've had other circumstances that they want to notify us of, again, that would normally go in their personal statement. And we would then get back in touch with them to say, you know, please, can you give us some evidence of this? And if that all pans out, then they would be deemed to be eligible for the course.
Okay, now this sounds quite a lot like people who are coming from school directly into university. However, there are also this support for applicants or people who want to come to the university who have been out of school for a while. Does that change how they go about the application process or what they have to reveal in the application process?
So the short answer is no. A lot of people who have maybe left school for a few more years may actually have developed the fact that they need to care for an elderly relative or whatever. So everything I've said applies to all age. We don't look at the age of applicants. We don't select by age. We're not allowed to, and we wouldn't want to anyway. So all of what I've said applies. And I think the oldest person we've had going on this course in my 27 years of doing it is, I think, 66. So there's no age limit, or indeed there's no criteria other than we're trying to be fair.
Okay. Now, these non-traditional routes are open to Scottish students. Is that how it works?
So for Scottish students, we have this factor based on their postcode, and that's called the Scottish Index of Multiple Deprivation. And if you go to our website, you can read more about it. If you just go to the university homepage and in the search bar type in the word contextual, you'll find all about how we support people in this way. For students from the rest of the world, we don't use the same, obviously, Scottish postcodes. We look at other factors. But if, for example, you are a rest of UK student and you qualify under what's called Polar or ACORN, which are the equivalents for England, Northern Ireland and Wales to SIMD, we can take that into account. We can look at that. Okay. And of course, for international students too, the same applies. We'll look at your circumstances regardless of where you come from.
Okay, so that's great. I've had quite a lot of experience of students who have come through the summer school and through these non-traditional routes in the past. I've been at the university for, well, 24 years. And we've been teaching students who have come through these non-traditional routes into the business school. They are always very good. They've engaged, they're committed. They've also got a bit of a head start in terms of having learnt a little bit about learning culture and academic culture in general. They also bring enormous amount of vitality to the group as we go along. And so these non-traditional routes are really a very special set of students, and we welcome them enthusiastically as we go forward. Listen, John, that's been great. Thank you very much for joining us today. I'm hoping that lots of people will take you up on this non-traditional route and join the summer school and come to the School of Business afterwards. Thanks very much, John. Bye now.
Thank you.